Hello, what's up YouTube? I've decided to do a second video this evening because I can't freaking stay awake. I'm on the job and ready to fall asleep, so just want to talk a little bit and clarify about some of the things I said in my last video, because I noticed that I sounded horrible in my last video. I sounded like I was even stuttering, or I couldn't even get the sentences out correctly. So I am very tired, guys. I apologize. However, I do want to clarify and touch on the reason why most Democrats are patriotic or anti-American. Now, I can explain this very well because I myself have been a Democrat my whole entire life. I have gotten to the point where I'm starting to finally step over to the conservative side, but mostly the reason I'm doing that is over things like abortion and the circus that I've been presented for the past 2 years or something like that. It's just been a circus, guys. And I just want to talk to you about the reasons why Americans can be anti-American or anti-patriotic, or look at the flag with maybe a cringe. It's because of what we have learned. We are very sympathetic with other countries. We have made a lot of mistakes in our government. Like, our presidents in the past have made so many mistakes and so many wrong moves, and have caused more problem rather than fixing it. So quite naturally, I'm going to give you an example. The Vietnam War was it was a stupid war, okay? It was just a stupid war. And then I'm trying to understand the Korean War, because I wasn't even born during those times, but I mean, as you can see, it didn't work. Whatever it is we were doing there, I don't think it worked. And then the one war that I can agree with was the Nazi Germany war. I believe that was a necessary war. As a matter of fact, we probably should have stepped in and did something a lot sooner, because by the time we stepped in there, Hitler had did a lot of damage already, and we went in there kind of late. So we went in there over interests like the technologies, the cars, and other things that he had going for himself. And the secret scientist and all that, we pretty much kidnapped those guys after the war, and we took them into our custody, and we created a lot of things after that. So yes, it was a war more on power, but turned out that power, even though they had the technologies and it was theirs first or whatever, it was an evil thing that they were doing. So yes, they needed to be taken out. So I agree with that war. Now, the old war, that was the stupidest thing that we could have possibly done. Now, us as Americans, some of us especially that have been Democratic, we've been seeing that, every time somebody finds a lot of oil, or they have a lot of oil and they become successful and rich selling oil, that somehow or another we end up not being friends with those people, okay? So I don't know if that's just a coincidence. I don't know the deals on that. I just know that America has not been perfect. We've not been dealing with things like we should have been dealing with things. And the presidents, like, say for instance the Bush administration, those guys have been kind of like in the shadows of our government since the Hitler days, okay? And they have been building an oil business, and they have been involved with the oil. So I mean, I really felt like this war that Bush had sent us to was based upon personal financial business dealings that he had overseas, that was not America, okay? It was just between him and his family, and it was a personal thing. So basically, you're involving a corporation's dealings with our whole entire country, which I disagree with that. And this is what I've been seeing a lot of corporations doing. Like, say for instance, the pharmaceuticals are, you know, they're worldwide kind of thing, but you have a lot of countries that are against certain things, like certain vaccines. But I just want to point that out, that one of the reasons, okay, I did marry a Mexican guy and he wasn't illegal, so I was totally wanting my problems to be solved and resolved, and he did get deported, so that was another problem. And then I went to Mexico, and I lived in Mexico for 7 years. And I really just wanted to be home. I really didn't want to have to choose between America and my husband, you know. And I just really wanted to be home, and I really wanted those borders to just not be there. I really did. And that was back in the day, and that was before this mess has happened. And this mess that's going on, I'm not all for the whole entire world coming in. Look at what has happened into our freaking government. Now we've got Muslims in government, and they're not American, you know. So I'm just want to point that out. They're not American. They don't think like America. They think like the place they come from, even if they were raised here. And I'm not saying that these people should not be here. Yes, be here, of course, the legal way and all that stuff. But when you come here and you try to change our ways, the ways that we've always been like, you know, taking out our words out of our pledge of allegiance, you know, taking away certain rights. You know, what right do you have to come and take? Just because your country don't have these rights and they can't do this doesn't mean you got to be so jealous that you got to come over into our country and tell us that we can't have these things because your country doesn't have these things. That's how I personally see that. But I just want to say that our country has not, I'm going to stop the ranting, and I'm going to say our country has not been making the right decisions, and this is the reason why a lot of us become anti-American, okay? However, I am not going to become that person. I'm going to be patriotic only because I have hope. I have hope, and this is the first time I've ever been patriotic in my life. It's because I have hope that we are going to start doing the right thing, and we are not going to make the wrong decisions. Now, I wasn't happy about the Iran deal, but I mean, let's just be honest with you guys. Just before he sent that fleet out there, I mean, there was like 400 freaking rockets, 500 rockets that were going over into Israel. And yes, they are being funded by Iran. So how are we supposed to sit back and just let this happen? You know, it's because of our soldiers and because of us and because of the World War back in the Hitler time, the Hitler era that brought these people to the place that they are now, okay? They were being murdered, killed, burned, poisoned, raped, separated, starved to death, and they deserved the place in this world. The reason I say that, they did not steal that land. That land was owed to them. The reason I say it was owed to them is because they were trying to live with the Palestinians very peacefully, and the Palestinian leader himself of Palestine, which was working side by side with the Israelis, went over to have a little conversation with Hitler about killing the Jews instead of sending them into camps. Basically, he is the one that told Hitler to kill them because he didn't want them coming to Israel. He didn't want them migrating to Israel, so murder them. Okay, I just want to say I've done my research on that, so if anybody, you guys are like anti-Semitic and don't know your history and want to say the Zionist this and blah, 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 you know what? You need to do your research and find out who's the one that really had that conversation with Hitler and told them to burn the Jews. It was a Palestinian leader of Palestine, okay, that did that, all right? So as far as I'm concerned, that is a little bitty speck on that freaking big-ass map of the Middle East. So I don't want to hear no crap out of anybody about that, okay? So like, share, and subscribe. You guys have a good night.